Hi, everybody. I'm Lori St. Clair. I'm a master evolutionary astrologer, spiritual medium, intuitive. Today's September 9th, 2022. Tomorrow, very shortly, we've got a full moon happening September 10th, 2022 at 2:59 a.m. That's Pacific time. It's going to be at 17 degrees of Pisces. The moon's going to be in Pisces, so that means the sun will be opposite in Virgo. Always full moon means the sun and the moon are opposing each other. The moon actually has no light of its own. It's just a reflection of the sun's light. So what a amazing relationship, right? And of course, full moon is always about relationship, mirroring back. So when the moon is full, illumination, right? Emotions run high, particularly when the moon is in a water sign, like in Pisces. We can be feeling a lot of emotion. Obviously, with Queen Elizabeth just passing, it's really bringing up a lot of different emotions all over the world, especially in the UK. What a loss and what a big change in the world. That is very much highlighted in this not only Mercury retrograde chart, because Mercury goes retrograde just before the full moon, and as well, Saturn and Uranus are still in a square aspect. They have been doing this dance now for quite a while. Saturn being the planet that deals with tradition, with the rules, with law, with structure, the protector, the provider, the archetype of the patriarch, and in a square, which is challenging aspect to Uranus, which is the rebel, it is the revolutionary, it is the progressive, it's the humanitarian, it thinks outside the box. Saturn is the box. And being in this square aspect, particularly with the Uranus and Taurus, because Taurus is typically a very stable sign. Uranus is not a very stable planet in what it brings up. It's like the Wheel of Fortune. And so a lot of what has been going on for years now has been the shakeup of the things that we think are stable, the things that we think are secure, and particularly just with Uranus and Taurus, that can be happening, but especially when it's in square to Saturn. And so there's a lot about what has been in place is changing and changing suddenly and changing rapidly. So we can feel very uneasy. And when the moon is full, things really get highlighted. When it's in Pisces, we can be looking idealistically at things. The moon is with Neptune in Pisces at this full moon chart. So we can really be feeling things a lot more intensely and wanting some type of stability or looking at things that we wish had been turned out a certain way, or looking toward the future in an idealistic way. And this is great because it's good to imagine what you do want and take practical steps towards that. The sun is in Virgo. When the sun is in Virgo, it is all about the methodology of anything and perfecting things. It is the pairing Virgo and Pisces in astrology that can represent the victim and the martyr. It can be, I like to look at it as music, because Virgo wants to perfect something. It practices something until it becomes good at something. It's the artist in the way of being the craftsperson, in the way of being a mentor, because it goes over something and it looks at how can I improve something. Now, Pisces is very much the ideal. It is beyond this earthly plane. It is the etheric, it's the mystic, it's poetry. And so I look at it typically as music, which Pisces is music. But the thing about music is, unless you are, um, a prodigy, a genius, you don't come right out of the womb being amazing at singing or playing an instrument. It takes time to learn your craft. It takes practice. It takes routine. But then all of a sudden it turns into magic and it becomes something much greater. So, this is very much what this full moon is talking about. It's bringing up the places that we need to look at in our life where we're getting too narrowly focused on seeking perfection. And where do we need to allow the music to really take us away to something greater and allow ourselves to have that mystical experience, that experience that takes us beyond just this mundane earth plane and into particularly unconditional love. That is the highest, best energy example of Piscean energy. It is truly unconditional, compassionate love. Virgo, on the other hand, can be very conditional because it needs things to be practical. Needs things to be tactical. It wants proof. It needs to be able to touch something. And that's great because we have to have that balance. There is that saying, she was so heavenly, she was of no earthly use at all. Now we need the balance. We exist in a dual world here. We need the practical and we need the mystical and we need the magical. And so with this full moon, it's highlighting how when we do practice something and we become really good at something, all of a sudden it just shifts into that effortlessness. And so there's looking at that in this full moon time, and where we might need to grieve something, and in particular where we need to forgive, because of course what is compassion but forgiveness, and recognizing that people have shortcomings, and we are not perfect. We seek perfection, and yet there is that beauty in knowing how perfect we are intrinsically, and to admire that within others, but particularly in yourself, and to give yourself the break and to give yourself room to be exactly as you are, and to love and forgive yourself for any perceived shortcomings, mistakes, because without mistakes, we don't learn, we don't grow. If you're not making mistakes, you're not participating. And this life is participation required. So we don't want to get caught up in just fantasy and in just, checking out, because that can be something that does get sparked with the Piscean, because sometimes it can get into the needing to escape because things are harsh, and you know nowadays things are not quote unquote that easy. They're very different than they have been in the very recent past. Every day is just something new, particularly back to that Saturn and Uranus aspect where things are just shifting and changing, where we felt there was security and things, and now there is a lot about, really, we need to chop water, carry wood. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So we need to just be present every day. And with this full moon, there is an illumination in all our relationships, and where we can look at the places that we need to bring forgiveness, the places that we need to bring compassion, and the places where we can try harder, and also the places where we can give ourselves a break and others. Um, that that's pretty much it. Covered Mercury retrograde in another video, but do keep in mind Mercury is retrograde at this time, to have patience, tolerance, and to really look at your relationships in discernment. Discernment is a big Virgo um, gift. There you go, gift. It really is, because it separates what is necessary and what is not. And every relationship, we need to have discernment. How is this relationship in my life fulfilling me? And how am I bringing fulfillment to someone else? And is this a relationship that I want to carry forward? Because, of course, at the full moon, it's always the time where we celebrate our victories. We get light on things that have been hidden. And, maybe we might be disillusioned with some of the things that come to light, but it's our job and our gift or ability to look at, hey, I don't want to carry this relationship forward. Or particularly, every relationship happens within you. And so you may need to think, to change your thinking. You may need to change your perspective. And that is always much easier to do when Mercury is retrograde, because we have misunderstandings, we get into arguments, things don't go the way we plan. Definitely plans, schmans for sure right now. And so you just being open and having that compassionate heart is going to do a world of good, and it's going to do the world good. So happy full moon, everybody. And definitely, whatever you need to release within these next 2 weeks, whatever you need to move through and say goodbye to, you need to grieve. You need to have a little funeral for, you need to have a little memorial for, dreams, relationships, ideas, jobs, whatever it is. Let it go and create that space for the new dreams that you're dreaming. All right. Ciao.